Well, sometimes you have to deal with technology and sometimes it lets you down. Now in this video, I enter a conversation with Tom Morley. We were talking about music and storytelling, and I have to say it was a fantastic conversation. But then the gremlins came in and we had to cut it short after just half an hour. So we both promised this is only part one. I hope you enjoy it. I loved it, and I think Tom's insight is absolutely tremendous. So thanks for tuning in to Artefact every Monday night at 8 o'clock UK time, and I look forward to talking to Tom again in January. Hi and welcome to Artefact Live Storytelling. This is episode 14. My name's Scott McArthur. I'm really quite excited about tonight because it represents a confluence, if you will, of all the things I've been talking about for the last 14 weeks. And I think that the subject of tonight, music, is one that there is so much ground we can cover. And my guest tonight, Tom Morley, and I think we could speak for a month on this, Tom, don't we? And so we will do our best to keep us in the 50-minute time frame, but it's something that I think is really important. And more than that, it's something that we very rarely look at in great depth in the world of personal development or corporate development. So also, I think there's an edge here that we can give you. So that's exciting as well. Now, as ever, we've had some fun with the technology. It seems to be the running story with Restream at the moment. So I doubt very much my chat's going to work, but I'll be able to see the chat in the various streams. So don't worry, I can still see your contributions. So don't panic if it takes me a couple of seconds to respond to your comments. But if you could let us know who's here, that would be great. And we'd really appreciate it. Now, before I introduce Tom, I'm gonna start unusually. I'm going to start with an artifact, but it's let me just double check this stream is going here. There it is. It's all going fine. And I'm going to go back to my artifact wall behind me. I had complaints. They flooded in that my background was looking a bit too corporate, so I've gone back to my favorite background, which is the I guess it's a bookcase, I guess. We built it out of an old shelving unit, and usually it was packed with books before coronavirus, but now it's got all my story things on it. So I'm going to go back to that. And I'm going to start this week with a book. Now, I don't think I've done that before. There are a few books that I think are, to me, are quite sacred. And these tend to be nearly all Carl Sagan books, as most of you will know who listen to me regularly. But this book, The Art of Possibility by Roz and Ben Zander. Now, if you've never heard of this couple, they're extraordinary. And Ben's talk on TED is one of the best ones I've ever seen, and it's absolutely inspiring. But there's a line here, just at the beginning of the book, that I think kind of helps explain some of why I'm doing this, guys. And it says this: draw a different frame around the same set of circumstances and new pathways come into view. Now that, as those of you who have been following the show will understand, sits quite beautifully with my belief about why we need to be talking about storytelling. And that belief is that I think at the current moment, possibly, not definitely, but possibly more than ever, we really need to tell more stories. And the reason for that is because it helps us see the world through the eyes of others. And as Chris Riddell says in this piece that I've now mentioned a dozen times, that a good book or a good story can act as an empathy engine. Now, I think that in the days of hopefully post-Trump and some of the other nonsense that's going on in the world, I think that will stand us in good stead for the future. Now, last week, and I must say, I had a great time last week. I spoke to Joanne Lockwood, And that's the biggest response I've ever had to one of these shows. It was extraordinary. And Jo's frankness, willingness to show her workings, inspired people. And I've heard from people from as far away as Australia, America, and Birkenhead. And it's been terrific. And the dialogue I've had with these individuals has been extremely interesting. And for a middle-aged white guy, a pleasure and something that I was really honoured to do. But as always, I like to try and form a bridge between the episodes. And this week, as I've said, is about music. And my guest is a wonderful proponent of the art of music, if you like, and how music can be used in all sorts of different contexts. I think that, along with Xander's quotes about reframing the world and reframing how you see a particular set of circumstances, is really, really important, because it enables you to do or to see something that it's called in the literature cognitive diversity. You can see things from different ways of framing a situation. And I think what Jo inspired me to do, and others obviously because of the feedback I've had, is to sometimes you have to step back and see things through the other people's eyes. And of course, that's all what empathy is about. So I hope you enjoy this week. Please let us know who's here. I've got an evening voice from Derek, Tom. So we know who Derek is. Derek Cheshire, nice to see you. About time you joined us, Derek. And hopefully you'll enjoy this evening. But before I introduce Tom, I'm going to ask you to look at something else, which I did about 2 months ago, and I'll show you the picture here. This was an interview that I did with a friend of mine. Now, this chap here is called Miha Provokovic, and Miha is a world-class violin player. He was the first violin with the Berlin Philharmonic, etc. He's an absolutely incredible musician. And we had an hour-long discussion, not within this environment of Artefact Live, but we just had a riffing conversation about music and about the work that him and I had done together in various organizations in the past. And when I asked him to introduce himself, and you can see it in the video, if you follow my links, you'll see the interview. It's on the YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Scott McArthur. If you look at his video, when I asked him to introduce himself, he had this huge smile on his face, and he had his violin in his hand, and he went, "Scott, I'm polyphonic." And I'm hoping that if you've never heard of that word before, Tom and I will demonstrate what polyphonic means in the next half an hour or so. But with no further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend and my guest tonight, Mr. Tom Morley. Tom, welcome to Artefact Live.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. It's good to see you. Looking positively underdressed as normal, my friend. So, without giving it all away, give us an introduction to Tom Morley. Who are you, Tom?
I'm syncopated.
Oh, another smart word.
No, I'm a polymath. When you said that about being polyphonic, I thought, yeah, I'm a polymath. I'm an empath. I'm an introvert, and also that I don't know if you've read a book. It's called The Highly Sensitive Person, and in that, the author describes how, I mean, if you believe that we come from monkeys in their tribe, I think something like 5%. When I'm going to do the storybook version here. Monkeys are all going through the jungle hungry. They see some food on the trees. 95% of them run towards it and start scoffing themselves. 5% are the lookouts. They look for predators because everyone's distracted eating, so they're checking out all the time. What's going to change? What's going to change? And if a predator comes, they set up the alarm. Everyone scarpers. They get fed by the rest of the tribe. Let's say. I don't know what the collective noun for monkeys is. Let's say it's a tribe. So if we believe that we come from monkeys, that 5% of us are the lookouts. We're the ones who don't fit in with the normal way of just going out to work and getting money for food. We're the lookouts. We're the magicians. We're the artists. We're the ones who kind of go, I don't think you should be doing that. You know, look, we can watch the government, current government, and go, no, you know, you don't think about the short term, think about the long term, because that's in our DNA. And the government will go, no, we just want to win more votes. You know, we'll, you know, bread and circuses, that'll do. And so we don't fit in at all. You know, there'll be some people out there going, that's me. I was an introvert. I'm an empath. You know, I feel it when there's an earthquake somewhere, and you know, and so we have no choice really but to go into the arts. We don't fit in anywhere. So what was the question?
So that's a lovely answer. That was completely not the answer to the question I asked, which I love about you, Tom. Give the guys a feel for you in terms of your background. Then that, I mean, you've given us a sort of this is how your brain works and how you fit in or not, which is a great start. But what's your background?
Well, my background, I mean, I was the youngest of 4 boys in a poor family living up a dirt road. And I would see my brothers who were a gang, they were like marauding monkeys. And I'd always be going, no, I don't think you should do that. So, but I was also very shy. So I spent my life kind of up until I was about 13, seeing what was going wrong everywhere. And then by the time, you know, with the boys and girls started to get interested in each other, I thought, I'm never going to get laid like this. I'm too quiet, you know. So I started growing my hair. It was the late 60s. Luckily, it was quite frizzy, you know, so I looked like Jimi Hendrix, white version. And one of the best looking girls in the school really loved Jimi Hendrix. And I used to carry these albums, you know, around, which were like flags in those days.
Yes.
This is me, you know. I mean, it's very easy. So I just got propelled suddenly into being the guy. And I didn't speak much, but I learned to dance at parties, and especially with this beautiful woman. So we just became the life and soul of the party. And if you're asking about me, I've done that all my life. That's what I do now in the corporate world. I'm the life and soul of the party, even online. So I learned that at 13. It was all just so I could get laid, really.
And then you went to art school after that. After you left school.
Yeah. And the thing about art school, if you go to art school, right? And I chose one of the freest in the country because I did a foundation year in Brighton, which was I was born in Brighton, but I lived in this sleepy town outside called Saltine. And I felt a bit sort of tethered to home. It's a terrible thing to go to college or university in your hometown because you've got your old friends and new friends. So I chose for my 3 years, I went up to Leeds. I got as far away as I could. And still be at a free course, you know, I didn't go to Inverness, but I really loved the sound of the Leeds course because you didn't have to specialize. I mean, that's another thing I should have said in my intro, that I'm not a niche person. This whole thing about niche, I think, and there'll be some people out there going, yeah, it is bonkers. But it's a fashion right now. So we, in that art school, we thought, where do all the first years go? And the teachers said, the tutors, they said, find a space. We said, what do you mean find a space? It's just this big warehouse, right? And it had all these second, third year, all these people, and they said, just find. And we said, well, there isn't any space. They said, go and find some. So we had to sort of go and perch on the end of someone else's space, and then gradually, and it really was by impressing people with our work. They'd go, oh, you need a bit more space for that, don't you? And they go, all right, you can have a little bit of mine.
Yes.
So we had to learn straight away, you know, if we want to get any work done, if we want to use any resources, if we want to put on a performance, we've got to create a space. It's not, and 3 years of that, man, you can't come out in the world and do anything other than say, I want to go over there and do that, you know, and create the space, you know, which is, I mean, it's a crazy education. I don't think you could get it now, that kind of thing.
Really?
And the one thing we did have to do, we had to go and talk to someone who had the purse strings if we wanted to do something. And I had this idea. I wanted to frame some pictures of myself breaking glass, right? So I thought I would get some reinforced glass, get someone to photograph me smashing it, and then put the photograph behind the glass. So in those days, the reinforced glass with a wire through it, if you got it, you know, the bobbly stuff that you get in public toilets and stuff is quite cheap, but plain, it's really expensive. So I had to go to this guy and say, I want to do a grid of 9 photographs of myself behind this reinforced glass. And he said, well, it is quite expensive. What are you going to do with it? I said, well, I'm going to smash it with a hammer. He said, yeah, that sounds all right. And he wrote me a chit, you know, for it so I could go and buy it. So I don't think you could do that at art school now. Maybe.
Probably right.
I hope you can, because now they say, well, what's the commercial benefit if you go and work for Saatchi and Saatchi? I'm not sure. Yes. You know, fancy doing it. And previous to that, in previous years, someone had done, I think the year before I got there, someone had done a performance sitting in a bath full of baked beans, you know, which had been quite expensive to actually fill the bath up just for an hour, and then they threw them all away.
Yes. I've only ever seen that on sort of children in need and.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think I saw John Noakes from Blue Peter doing that one year.
Well, let me tell you, it's very serious performance art.
So after college, you got into the music industry.
Yeah, well, we formed. That's where I met Green from Scritti, and Neil is his mate, who wasn't at the art school, but he came to live with us. Yeah, and we were concerned about social change. You know, being the foraging monkeys, we were looking around. What's dangerous? Well, the government's fucking dangerous. Excuse me, the government's dangerous. It's Thatcher. So we thought, well, we better go and change things. Now, you cannot change things. I'm sorry, visual artists, but you cannot change things by putting something on the wall and hoping someone's going to get the message from it. Well, you can, actually. I mean,
Banks is a regular, mate. Banks is a regular of this show.
It's slow. Yeah. So, but there was people like the Clash, out there, the reggae was big, you know, it was all kind of messages, political messages, and you know, Karl Marx sewn onto shirts and stuff. We're very left wing. Yeah. So we said, well, look, I mean, it was a political decision. I wasn't born to be a musician. I should have been a visual artist, but I couldn't justify it anymore. I said, we've just got to go out and get the message across. And of course, the better the music is, the more people are going to listen to the message. Music's a magnet. It draws people. I mean, visual art does draw people, but they come and they're really quiet.
Yes.
Whereas music draws people and they come and they're really loud. And you can say, this is my message. You don't have to decipher it from the way I've put these colors together. There's some people out there hating me now. I can feel it, but it's all in code. If you're saying smash the state and it's got a good beat to it, people go, I wonder what they mean by that. You know, so we started off really political. You know, we had songs about hegemony and Jacques Derrida and Lions After Slumber. It was all, come on. Yeah. Let's be the revolution.
The name of the band, actually, Scritti Politti, was from a political environment as well, wasn't it?
Gramsci, who wrote, I mean, the romantic version is probably wasn't so romantic from him, but he wrote about hegemony, which you probably know hegemony is how you control the masses by controlling the common sense, not not with guns. So if you can get people saying an honest day's, pay for an honest day's work, you can't change human nature.
Yeah.
By the hand that feeds you, then you don't need to whip them into line. They're whipping themselves into line, like ragged trousered philanthropists say. So so we just thought, well, let's go and be musicians then. That seems to be the thing to do. And then we kind of got stuck like it.
And then after that, you obviously things moved on, and you left the band, and then you started to look for your next step. Now, I've obviously heard the story before, but you went to France, Tom. And there was a moment, I think it's worth, because I didn't mention to you beforehand, I would ask you that question about that to explain that, but it's actually one of these, it's very relevant to today, because I think it was probably one of your, I hate using the word, but it was a pivotal moment, wasn't it? Yeah. So what happened in France? Because it's a good story in terms of explaining what we're going to talk about for the next 20 minutes.
Okay. Well, there's an option that everybody has in the music business. It's a kind of luxury in a way. If you go through some sort of disaster in the city and you get depressed, you have to hide it. Whereas if you have a disaster in the music business, you can have a kaleidoscopic nervous breakdown, and everyone says, oh, great, something good is going to come out of this. He's going to reinvent himself. Now, when you're going through it, you think that's all nonsense. I'm just depressed, like the bankers in the 30s. But so I got to the point where I couldn't listen to music anymore. It was I couldn't even get in the lift. I got quite fit because if there was music in the lift, I had to get out, take the stairs.
Really?
So, and I thought, I've got to get out of the city. I went to a retreat in France in the Dordogne with about 20 people. I'd never been on a workshop or anything before, but somebody had given me a book, and I thought, good, all right. There's this guy, Richard Moss. He wrote a book about, I didn't realize, but the course I'd signed up to, which was a 2-week course, was an Enlightenment intensive. Now, I was a Marxist, right? I would never have signed up for an Enlightenment. Anyway, I needed to get somewhere quiet. So I think about probably on the 6th day of being really silent, we'd been in this Native American sweat lodge, which again was weird, 6 o'clock in the morning, chanting and pouring water over hot stones. We're all naked, we're meant to be all calm, but of course we're all just covering our private parts, because they said the rocks might split as we pour the water on, right? Pitch dark, there's people pouring cold water on hot rocks that might split and take your eyes out, or worse. So we weren't feeling that calm, but anyway, we got out and they said, we're going to have, it was in this big chateau, the grounds of this big chateau. They said to everybody, right, go and have breakfast. And outside, where they'd been heating up the rocks on this fire, there was a drum, there was a djembe drum. And I hadn't played a drum for a long time. I'd never played one of them. But something said, well, look, there's no music business people, there's no A&R people, there's no nothing. No managers here to mess everything up. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
So I hope the kids are in bed. So I just thought, well, I'll have a go, and I shut my eyes and I just kind of got on this drum, naked, and I thought, this is actually quite good. I'm quite good at this. So I just carried on playing for about 10 minutes. When I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by naked dancing people. Nobody had gone to breakfast. I had about 20 people just going crazy, and they said, thank God a drummer's arrived, in our midst.
Yes.
So I went from kind of zero to hero without having to be enlightened, and I thought, well, there's something in this. So I came home. Yes. And I started playing at the Pineapple Dance Centre, and suddenly all this, it was like being teenage all over again. All these people became interested in me because I was activating them. And they said, oh, we'd never played with a live drummer before. I wasn't that good, I have to say, but good enough. Mm-hmm. So, and then I started doing corporate, this is the short version.
Oh, yes.
I went from there, from the Pineapple, to playing at people's parties to someone saying, will you come and do this in my business? And I borrowed a whole load of drums from another mate of mine, Doug Manuel, if he's watching. He's now works in Switzerland. And so he lent me his drums, and I went and did this corporate thing. They loved it, absolutely loved it. So that kind of led me to where I am now.
Right. And I think that is I mean, that's a long introduction, but it's a perfect introduction, because you have, if I may say, you've told your whole introduction almost as a story, Tom. You didn't give us any, apart from, I went to art college, you didn't give us any, I got my O grades, then I got my A levels. You didn't do that. A lot of folk do.
I've got my certificates here, if you want to see.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. But so I'd like to sort of hone it back and ask, this could be quite a difficult question. I don't really care, sorry. But often, and we've done this on the show before, we've said things like, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, why don't we all use pictures? But if a picture is worth 1,000 words, how much is a melody worth? How much is music worth in terms of trying to, change people's perceptions or explain what you are, who you want to be, what your organization is? What do you think of that as an idea, as a notion?
Well, all art, music, visual art, performance, it all used to be in the service of ritual. It wasn't separated in the way we have it separated now. So, so if say I know some African rhythms, but they'll refer to them as songs. They'll say, let's play that song. And when they say, let's play the song, they mean sing the song, play the rhythm, do the dance. And maybe there's even a meal attached to it.
Yeah.
So we've done the most ignorant thing you could do in the West. In order to sell everything, we've divided it all up. So we've taken all the kind of ritual aspects out of it and commodified it. So you say, what's the power of an individual melody or individual lyrics?
Yeah,
I think that's looking at it in the commodified way, because, like I said at the beginning, music's a magnet. So music would, I played on the streets recently with the Extinction Rebellion. Now we're playing, and people are being drawn. They're dancing. They're blocking the roads. Whatever. You don't have to sing over the top. Right. Save the world. Save the world. People are already getting the message.
Yes.
Yes. So that aspect of music interests me more than anything as a ritual, because people always talking about measurable results, right? So if I get everybody grooving at a conference and they're all getting connected to their spirit, to their hearts, they're connecting with each other, they're losing their inhibitions, they're feeling young again, all sorts of chemicals are getting activated. I don't need to sing over the top. Let's all be happy and connect. Aren't we all lovely? That's why all those people who go, reach out and touch. You go, you don't have to tell us, mate. We're already doing it. We're doing it kind of internally.
Yes.
I mean, Diana Ross is a good singer.
Yeah.
But I think that's where people make mistakes with all art. They go with the commodified aspect of it, and it's wrong. It's in the service of ritual, and those rituals are designed to make those chemical changes in our body and connect us as a community. It's not entertainment.